After years of wandering between choices, unsure of what path my life should follow, I spent countless days searching for the profession that would define me. It felt endless, like a maze with no exit. But deep inside, there was always a pull toward the sky, the clouds, the faraway cities I had only read about. One day, after much thinking and uncertainty, I finally made my decision. I would become a flight attendant. It felt right, like my heart had been waiting for me to speak the words. Without hesitation, I enrolled in the necessary preparation courses. For months, I trained tirelessly, learning, practicing, dreaming. Every day, I could feel myself getting closer to the life I had always imagined. When my training was complete, I was ready to live the dream that had lingered in my heart for so long. It was during that time of hope and excitement that I received the news I had been waiting for. I had been hired by one of the most popular and respected airlines in the entire country. The moment felt surreal, like stepping into a fantasy where everything was perfectly in place. The uniforms, the planes, the destinations, even the smell of the jet fuel, it all felt magical to me. My days were filled with new experiences and the joy of meeting people from all walks of life. My colleagues became my friends, my family in the sky, and together we formed a bond that only those who work above the clouds can truly understand. Life felt like a dream I never wanted to wake from. But beneath the polished smiles and glittering wings of the airline world, there were whispers, stories shared in low voices during breaks, fragments of a tale no one dared to speak too loudly. It was during one of those breaks, while we waited for boarding to begin, that my colleagues began telling me about a girl they claimed they had seen at the back of the plane, especially during night flights. Some said she appeared only briefly, others claimed they had felt her presence for entire journeys. They described her as a ghost, a defenseless spirit who caused no harm, but whose existence unsettled everyone. Even though no one had been hurt, the very idea of her had spread through the airline like an unspoken legend. For weeks afterward, I boarded the same plane over and over again, my eyes quietly scanning the back rows for any sign of her. I wasn't sure if I believed them, but something about their tone, the seriousness in their eyes, stayed with me. My curiosity eventually outweighed my fear. One day, I approached the oldest crew member I could find and asked him directly about the girl. His expression darkened slightly, and he told me a story that made my skin crawl. He said that the spirit did exist, and that years ago, a young girl had died on a flight. Her death had been sudden and unexplained, a cardiac arrest, they said, and the passengers and crew had been forced to continue the journey with her lifeless body until reaching their destination. It had been one of the most shocking incidents in the airline's history, a moment no one forgot. After that day, pilots and flight attendants began to whisper of her ghost wandering the aisle, of faint sounds of crying echoing through the cabin at night. Over the years, the stories became routine, the sightings normal. She was simply accepted as a part of the plane, a lost soul drifting forever between destinations. It wasn't until one of my most important flights that I felt the weight of those stories for myself. I was exhausted that night, my body heavy with fatigue, my mind foggy. I almost convinced myself that what I saw was a trick of the light, a dream inside a waking moment. But as I went to retrieve my jacket from the last row of seats, I froze. There, in the dim glow of the cabin, a small shadow crouched at the back. My breath caught in my throat. I forced myself forward, step by step, my heartbeat echoing louder than the engines outside. As I drew closer, I could make out her form. She was small, curled tightly in a fetal position, and then she lifted her head, slowly, deliberately. The sight of her face burned itself into my memory. Her small frame meant nothing compared to the terror it held. Her face was pale and scarred, her expression twisted into a macabre smile that didn't belong on a child. My veins turned to ice. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get off the plane, but my body would not obey. I stood frozen, alive but lifeless, staring at this childlike apparition whose gaze cut through me. She didn't move toward me, didn't threaten me, but she also didn't leave. In that suspended moment, I felt like time had dissolved. My name floated through the air, distant and muffled. "Mariana, are you there?" It was Dolores, my colleague, calling from the front of the plane.
Her voice snapped me back to reality. Dolores rushed toward me, eyes full of concern, and found me pale and trembling. She guided me to a seat, urging me to breathe. When I finally managed to point to the back where the girl had been, there was nothing. No shadow, no trace. The seat was empty, as if no one had ever been there. Dolores looked me in the eyes and quietly asked if she had seen what she thought I had seen. I could only nod. I had no words left inside me. She tried to reassure me, telling me it was normal to have such an encounter, that the spirit was harmless, that many before me had experienced the same. But her words barely reached me. The image of that face lingered in my mind like a wound that wouldn't heal. In the days that followed, I couldn't escape her. Even when I wasn't on the plane, I felt her presence hovering at the edge of my thoughts. My fear deepened into something heavier, a quiet anguish. Despite flying that same route several more times, I never again saw her as clearly as I had that night. Yet she stayed with me in memory. Desperate for answers, I called an aunt of mine who believes deeply in spirits. I told her everything, every detail. She listened carefully, then warned me to be cautious. Some spirits, she said, attach themselves to the living, seeking energy or even souls to ease their suffering. Not everyone can see them, which is why these encounters are rare and dangerous. As time passed, passengers began to come to me with their own fearful stories. One man confessed that the ghost had appeared next to his seat during a flight, leaving him terrified for hours. I would always try to calm them, telling them it was their imagination, even though I knew it was not. The sightings increased, complaints became more frequent, and yet outwardly I maintained the same gentle smile, the same reassurances. Inside, I was unraveling. When my long-awaited vacation finally arrived, I left for home. I needed distance, time to breathe. Seeing my mother should have been a comfort, but instead it brought a new wave of fear. She told me, almost shyly, that she had dreamed of me many times while I was at the airport. In her dreams, a strange girl, a shadow, followed me, always close, always watching. Hearing her words shook me to my core. It wasn't just me. Something real was happening. I spent those days of rest searching through old files, newspaper archives, anything that might hold the truth about the girl. Finally, I found it. A record that shattered the story I had been told. She hadn't died of cardiac arrest. She had been kidnapped, smuggled onto the plane, and drugged with a substance so powerful it ended her life within hours. She was an innocent victim, her death a hidden tragedy buried beneath official explanations. I felt sick reading it, my heart heavy with sorrow and rage. Yet I also felt a strange sense of purpose. Maybe this was why she had appeared to me. Maybe she wanted someone to know. I tracked down her parents, now elderly and frail. When I told them what I had learned, their eyes filled with tears. They had lived for years with unanswered questions, and now, at last, there was a chance for peace. They asked me if they could come with me to the place their daughter haunted most. A priest joined us, carrying holy water and white flowers. Together, we boarded the plane. My heart pounded as the parents called out their daughter's name, their voices breaking with grief. Then we all heard it, a loud, heart-wrenching wail. The air turned cold. We knew she was with us. The parents begged for her forgiveness. They told her they loved her, that they wanted her to rest. The priest began to bless the plane, his words soft but steady. Slowly, the crying subsided. The air felt lighter, warmer. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but I could sense it working. After a while, the parents thanked me for helping them. They believed their daughter was finally at peace. I watched them walk away, small figures against the vastness of the airport, and I thought about how complicated life is, and how complicated death can be too. When my vacation ended and I returned to work, the plane felt different. The oppressive weight was gone. There were no more complaints, no more sightings, no more whispered stories. The girl had vanished, leaving nothing behind. 10 years have passed since that night, but I remember it as if it were yesterday. I have never seen her again, but her story lives with me. Among all my experiences as a flight attendant, it remains the one that shaped me the most. It taught me how powerful a spirit in pain can be, and how, even in death, the lost can find their way home.